Hello, everybody. It's September 4th, 9:40 a.m. And I want to talk about the shocking reality, the truth behind the RCMP's polygraph test fiasco that nobody else is talking about. Nobody else is talking about. Imagine you are Malaya and Daniel. And imagine you're being accused of this heinous crime and you're subjected to a polygraph test and you pass it with flying colors. Now imagine that this test was a complete failure. And that is the shocking reality of this situation. Why do I say they failed epically? Well, do you remember this clip? Do you remember this clip? Well, let's watch the clip I'm talking about. Buckle up.
Yeah, I was extremely nervous. Especially with the first question they asked you, did you kill Lily and Jack?
That was the first question they asked you?
Yeah. Yeah.
What went through your mind when someone's asking you that question so point blank like that?
Your mind has a massive release of chemicals, I guess you would call them.
Yeah, like you're pooping your pants.
It's like your stress levels just astronomically through the roof and your body doesn't know what to do because it's not every day the way you're hooked up to machines in an interrogation room where someone asks you questions like that.
What other kinds of questions did they ask you?
All the questions pertain to the death of Lily and Jack. Are you accessory to the murder of Lily and Jack? They were all.
So all of the questions assumed that the children are no longer alive?
Yeah.
There were no questions at all about, did you take them somewhere? Could they be somewhere?
No.
The police have done.
Wow. That's my point. There was zero questions about whether they removed the kids from the property. So if they didn't unalive them, of course they passed. What the TF? I'm disappointed. I'm outraged. Look, from the very beginning, I have said, contrary to what everybody else has said, I have said, I don't believe that the family is responsible for removing Jack and Lily out of the home. I have said that publicly. Okay. I have said that through tarot readings. I think they may know now or have suspicions now of where they are and what's happened to them. But did they do that and did they plan it? Is what I said at the beginning. I didn't think so. And I've told that to the RCMP. But why the F? What a freaking fiasco. Why, when you have them there, and I've mentioned this before, but we're going to dive into this a little bit more today, because for the love of God, if they didn't unalive them and the only questions they asked were whether they unalived them or not, what if they removed them from the home strategically? Then they would have passed. They would have passed if they didn't unalive them. But they never friggin' asked them if they arranged to have them removed. If one of them, Janie, in my opinion, oh my God. Like how does that get a pass? How does that pass the scrutiny of the public eye here? This is upsetting. It's upsetting me. It's upsetting me. And let's dive into why. First off, polygraphs measure physiological responses, heart rate, blood pressure, respiration, skin conductivity to determine truthfulness. However, they don't detect lies, they detect stress, and stress can be manipulated, right? Stress can be manipulated. A polygraph test or lie detector test is a procedure that measures and records physiological data, including heart rate, blood pressure, respiration, skin conductivity, while a person is asked questions to determine the truthfulness of their answers. While it is used as an investigative tool in some contexts, such as criminal investigations and law enforcement hiring, its results are generally not considered reliable or admissible As evidence in Canadian courts, the test is based on the theory that lying causes a higher level of anxiety, leading to detectable physical symptoms. Listen, we're going to get into this because this is not the only reason. Their focus is not of questions is not the only reason this could have been a failure. Okay, so listen up because we got a few points to make here. The physiological response, right, assumes that the person is lying will experience increased anxiety resulting in measurable physiological changes. During the test, the examiner asks various questions, including control questions, broader questions about a person's past, and relevant questions specific to the investigation. The interpretation of the data is subjective and can be influenced by the expertise and training of the polygraph examiner. Other factors, physical reactions can be caused by general stress, anxiety, or discomfort with uncomfortable questions rather than necessarily lying, leading to inconclusive results. Due to these issues, polygraph is considered pseudoscience device or procedure, not a scientifically valid truth detection instrument. Okay, I think most of us know this. However, specifies that it's relevant based on, and only as good, if you will, based on the questions asked. Daniel Martel just admitted to us that during his polygraph, the questions were solely about the murders of Jack and Lily. No questions about the children's whereabouts or other critical details. The other thing, Daniel has admitted to methamphetamine use, which could have altered his physiological responses. He has come out and told us that he had to prove to the courts that he was willing to take his addiction to drugs seriously, go into rehab, and all of that stuff. 3 weeks later, was he completely cleared of all his drugs, do you think? Do you think a meth addict is clear from their drugs 3 weeks later? I don't know. Let's see. Well, we know that Daniel admitted to being a meth addict. So let's read how meth addiction affects the body in a polygraph test. Polygraph measures, like we said, heart rate, blood pressure, breathing patterns, okay? And methamphetamine artificially stimulates the nervous system, meaning you could have an elevated baseline heart rate and blood pressure, irregular or shallow breathing, desensitized emotional responses, especially with chronic use. Well, we know he's been at least on it for 2 years. I would call that chronic. And is this why there was a lack of response emotionally with both him and Malaya? Maybe, but it can also increase possible psychosis or paranoia. What this means in a polygraph context: false negatives, deceptive but reads truthfully. A meth user may not show the normal stress spikes when lying because their system is already hyperstimulated or blunted. Cambridge research estimates 16% false negatives in sober subjects with meth use. This may be even higher. Desensitization to fear, stress. Chronic meth use can numb fear responses. Polygraphs rely on guilt, fear to trigger measurable changes. If the user feels little, the machine records little. Erratic responses. On the other hand, meth binges can cause chaotic breathing, heart activity, which may confuse examiners and lead to inconclusive results. Case studies and stats. The National Academy of Sciences in 2013 said polygraphs are unreliable, especially with drug users or psychiatric conditions. Addiction psychiatry reviews, stimulant addicts often present flat affect or blunted stress response. That makes it hard to tell when they're lying. Law enforcement training manuals, drug use is considered a major confound in polygraph reliability, sometimes leading agencies to void the results entirely if a subject admits use. He told us that he needed to clear his name in order to be able to get access to Meadow again. What the dang is this about? What the dang? I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed. Why Daniel could pass and Janie could fail. Daniel on meth, possibly blunted stress, fewer spikes, machine read, truthful. Janie, maybe sober, stressed, grieving, extreme stress results. Or does Janie's body simply have a different reaction to meth use? I don't really know. But I do know that they failed this epically. Epically, they failed, right? Because they didn't test a sober person. It takes approximately, according to articles, 90 days to clear your system of meth use if you're an addict. So how the heck would they even, if it's in their manuals, consider this test reliable? The questions were only around murder, not about removing the children. We know factually the day, 2 days before, they were going to lose their support. And I'm not saying, again, I don't think they necessarily took the kids out, but did they have them, or one of them or somebody in that family, Janie, have them removed from the property? Yeah. But the RCMP's failure to consider Daniel's drug use and the narrow scope of the questions raises some serious questions about the integrity of the investigation. To understand, like, how they could possibly consider this a cold case under these conditions really has me concerned, because I don't know if they really did, given this, the proper investigation that was needed to find these kids and to figure out if this family is involved or not. And now we've got them coming out saying that they believe this is a cold case. And I don't know about you, but I'm really disturbed at the quality or lack of quality that maybe has been conducted, or lack of experience, if you will, in this case. So let me know what you think. Do you think that this fiasco, that the shocking truth about the RCMP's polygraph test is fiasco, is relevant? Do you think that them calling this a cold case was premature? Did they mess this polygraph up? They had to bring somebody in from out of state, according to Daniel, or out of province. I keep saying state because I'm used to doing US-based cases. But how effective was this polygraph examiner when he only asked the murdering questions, the unaliving questions? Like, it just makes no sense. Tell me what you think. Do all the YouTubey things. Love and light. See you soon.